Awesome. Okay. We are live. So now we can continue this conversation online. And first, I just wanted to thank you, Sonia, for being here today and for just giving some moments of your time to help, because I feel like your story is really a really true example of many people's experience. There's lots of layers of your story that I think will resonate with people who are thinking about joining Empath Energetics in this next round. But also, like specifically and especially, I wanted you here because I wanted to publicly thank you for supporting the ability for me to offer a second scholarship, right? So you paid for the scholarship in this last round, this one that you're currently a part of, which I was so grateful for you to do. And you'll share more about your story and how you even got to that decision, which I think is really beautiful. And I think the world needs more of it, wealth distribution and how we give and how we support voices that need it. And I certainly needed it at that time. And also, I then was so inspired by that. I said, well, I just can't stand not giving a scholarship because that just felt so good. It's selfish. It felt so good for me to be able to give that to someone. That this round I offered one. And then you said, oh, by the way, I'll also do one. So now we have two, which is amazing. I mean, it's incredible that we even had one in the first place at all. And even more doubly incredible that we have two for this next round. We have two people who, without this support, would not be able to go and take this epic 4-month program that I offer. And now there's also over 180 scholarship applications. If you can believe that, it is like mind-blowing. I set a goal. I said, oh, it'd be really, really awesome to have 30. I have 6 times that just by beaming out, hey, this program is really beautiful, and it'd be really awesome to be able to have as many people as possible, so that exact highest and best aligned person using this random generator, somehow spirit, will choose the right person to receive the second one. I know the first one was really well received. So without further ado, I mean, I just wanted to deeply thank you and also ask you, what brought you to this place? What made you decide to donate this scholarship to this 7th round of Empath Energetics? Oh, you're muted. This happens all the time.
I'm sorry, I go and cough and I mute myself and then I can't speak.
I'll mute myself.
So it's funny because in part it is selfish. In part it is just how I've experienced the world. The selfish piece is what I got out of the program. Like, and I'll tell you, we'll talk more about the details of how I came across it. And I'm sorry, this is actually creating a release in me to be able to share this story. So this is funny. I just got to mute my.
You don't need to be sorry, by the way, for releasing, coughing, or crying, or laughing, as you are.
So for those of you who don't know, I'm Sonia Guzman. I'm an integrative somatic coach. And when we shift things in our bodies, we can have a release. So it could be like sudden urge to move. It can be a burp or gassiness in our bodies. We can feel like movement. And so that's just what I could feel in sharing this story, because this for me actually anchors in a really deep trauma. To think that I would have called myself an oracle or anything woo-woo in a room of 250 professionals, I would have laughed at myself. And I did that this year. And I did that because I realized I have access, as all of us do, really, if we so choose to access it, to knowledge through our antenna, which is our bodies, through our awareness, logical, sensed, all of these things. And some of us feel it so intensely that we've learned to turn it off. Or, like in my case, trauma forced us to turn it off, or it just wasn't safe to be that powerful, really. Yeah. And the core of all the work that I do has been, going from an externally driven life where you are pushing yourself to get to the things that have been externally told to you are important and that you should value, and really turning inwards, befriending yourself as a human being, you're befriending your body, befriending all parts of you, the things we call good and bad, the things people judge as ugly or not enough. And it's so on point and aligned that this program was like the missing piece I didn't want to see, because it had to do with the spiritual, it had to do with the blue, it was the intangible. And the truth is, we are complex beings with very multiple facets, and nothing in our wiring, our DNA, our genetics lead us to believe that any one of us is to experience this life in the exact same way. We have common experiences, common, challenges, but we don't experience them in the same way. And this program really creates space for us to own who we really are on multiple levels. I was owning who I was as a professional, as a woman, but I wasn't owning it as like a powerful being that I have access to more than, you know, people want to believe in, and nor do I need them to, nor do they need me to, right? Like, it's just, we really are designed to create our own reality.
And I love this because one of the things that you said about this program was that it allowed you access to what you didn't know you had access to before. And in a way, offering the scholarship is giving access to someone else where they wouldn't have had a felt, you know, understanding of their own access as well. And really, our intuition development, which is what I say is the main core of the program. It's tough to describe it, but intuition development is generally what I say we're doing, because it's about creating these different access points and frameworks for how we receive information. And you're
Mhm.
right that, trauma and life experiences can sometimes interrupt our ability to receive. And same with the body, right? We get into patterns where we react instead of take in what's
Mhm.
coming through. And so I've seen you come a long way, even though you were entering as a powerhouse in many ways. Like you say, now it's grounded in the spiritual and energetic aspects, and the soul aspects of your life are allowed to live there also. And you can
Yeah.
feel that type of power there, which is so beautiful. So I wonder if now is the time for you to share how it is you entered the course, or how it is you came to the decision for the scholarship, because it is really fascinating. And I think a lot of people are also afraid. They're afraid to talk about spirituality and intuition. They're also afraid to talk about money and finances, and there's
Mhm.
some big link there.
Yeah. Um, so we can come at it from so many angles, because the trauma just has so many lessons for me, and I think for people, but I don't think it matters how I perceived it per se. It's more how I was like experiencing outwardly, right? Um, so I was really pushing to grow my business uh, after I had taken a mental health leave. So, finances were cut. But I was like so focused. I was taking all of these. Um, I took my certification course as a coach, and my clients were getting great results. I started coaching right away. I'd actually come across this program strictly from the standpoint of business consulting. Um, and so I thought, I'd been burnt out in corporate, but that didn't need to be the way. And so my business, Happy Heart, Love and Life, was born, and I was going to help people find joy in the work that they were doing. And that was the core principle of my work. You know, I had all this old patterning, subconscious patterning that was driving how I was showing up in my work. And even though I was effective and good at my job, I felt like I was crumbling inside. And everybody else seemed to have it together and I didn't. And so I went on my healing journey, you know, this business consulting, taking corporate principles to small entrepreneurs and professionals like doctors into their businesses, turned into, oh, hey, let's get to the root of this as individuals, and life coaching and the subconscious. And so I was already accepting that there were intangible elements that contribute to the way we experience the world. And it wasn't until I hit rock bottom, till life was almost not here for me anymore, wasn't an option anymore for me, that it took me to like look at how I was living, because I was so anchored in the need to like know exactly how I was living. So this whole growth and expansion piece was really like this new world, and I was doing it and I was diving in, I was all in. But trauma keeps you guarded. Doesn't matter what you want, what you know, it keeps you guarded, keeps you protected. And so you don't access more. You keep you're growing, but within a very, very confined limitation. And then you start to, all the things you're learning and doing, and then you start to almost resort to the bullying of self because, hey, I already know this, so why am I not doing it? So you dig deeper and dig deeper. And so by the time I came across Empath Energetics, I'd been through my certification course, a manifestation program. I was hosting a mastermind. I had gotten pregnant. A lot of things had changed, and what I thought where I was going and what I was doing, a lot of things had changed. Not to mention the whole life rewire before that, just years before that, right? And so by the time I came to you, I'd invested in some really good stuff, some really solid skills and programs from proven mentors and teachers and coaches. And who had time to spend money on things that were woo woo, that weren't about building the business? And manifestation, like I'm not blind to the connection of it all, but like why was I going to then go down this path? It felt like I was just chasing things. And so when you offered a pay as you can go, as you pay what you can, I think it was, on a monthly basis, and you made it so flexible, I think I said to you, what if I can only pay $20? And you're like, I just know that this has to, like, I'm just sensing this, so you just do what you need to do. So yeah. And I was like, what the? Because I was not even excited about spending $20
And can
on
I
more
say, I don't even like, I guaranteed I was not in a super cushy financial place to have the right to say, I trust it, it's fine. But I really did. I was sort of just like, oh yeah, this feels good. I'm just gonna say yes, and who knows? Who knows? I don't get to know why I'm saying yes to this. I just know it's something I say. I probably asked my pendulum because I was probably like, yeah, $20. Whoa, that's, I mean, I know I'm worth more than that for even just the 1-to-1 hour. Because look at what these sessions are. But empaths has to run, and people are in it. It was coming out of the pandemic too, right? Like the
right,
timing
right,
of
right,
it
right.
was, I was sensitive to the fact that lots of people are in tough situations. You just never know. You just never know. It's funny to hear you say it because it's so different now, but it is funny.
And I was like ashamed, but I said yes. I was ashamed because I knew I was using the money story, but it wasn't the money. And I and you didn't let me. You didn't let me use the money story. You didn't let me get away with it. And I
I was
loved
like,
it.
yeah, $20, you're in. Oh no. I thought she was gonna say no to me. I thought $20 totally isn't enough. I'll just get out of this.
I know. I was like, get me out of here. But I don't know what it was. Was it like people pleaser? I know I've always had access to my intuition. My subconscious has never bought into my bullshit, and it's always let it access when I was really lost. And it's not like I was lost in what I was doing, but I was never going to come and look and deal with this spiritual trauma that I had experienced. Whoa. Yeah. And that's like, you know, the thought of that, like, I can use a pendulum now and people are floored. They've never seen how when I ask it to show me yes, that it can swing so fast. And like it's so active. And when I ask it to show me no, it can move so quickly and it's so responsive. And this was the case from the beginning. And I was just so freaked out about it, like literally scared to my like the core of it. Look at it. And it's like, now you're not scared anymore. Like this thing singing. And it was like this thing that I didn't even know I had this like aversion, but it was so ingrained in me that that was evil, that was wrong to have any kind of sense beyond the tangible. To know more than was logically possible to know was wrong. And I'd written poetry for years and I would have to go Google or look up a dictionary to find the words. And here I was proving my claircognizance, and I was like, wow, my memory doesn't serve me for when I want it to, but I remember this word some I don't even remember hearing before. But that wasn't it, right? And so all of these things started opening up to me, and I started allowing myself to see myself. I wasn't going to manifest anything because that meant I was as powerful as I thought I could be, and it would scare me every time I did. And so this has allowed me to access my trauma in a way that is completely different and also complete because it's not just half-hearted. It's not just half of the story, half of the picture. It's like it sees me in my completeness. And I do this work with my clients and I see it. And it's just seeing it allows me to honor people in a different way, even when I show up with them, because there's literally nothing I can tell you that you don't already know. Literally nothing that you can't find a way to know, whether it's in a tangible way or another way. But like here we are holding this space. Like it allows me to hold the space for my clients, for anybody who I work with this awe, because it really does. Like it feels like I am a magical being, and not in like a flitty kind of way, like in a very tangible, like I literally can create the life that I want and I am. And time again, when I don't listen to the fear, when I lean in, it's like allowed me to soften the tools from the other things that have nothing to do with this. Soften and use them in a way that is just so much more deep. Like anything you already know, when you access it through you, it's just so different. And there's just, and it's like not, it is so tangible. Project planning and my corporate job, giving advice on leadership to my clients and like hearing their reflections back. When they anchor into who they are beyond the physical, beyond the titles, beyond the expectations, the roles, things, when they anchor into that, that's where they change everything. That's when their teams start to thrive. That's when they hit the 3 million mark. That's when they hit that. And so to me, it's like this scholarship is there are people that need to do this work that will never spend a dime on it. And the world needs them.
The thank you for saying that. Like, so the reason in some sense that you're saying, you know, you valued the experience, the process, because it was largely unknown, right? Like a lot of the woo-woo to people, I never say that about myself. I think I'm so practical. I don't even identify my stuff as like even directly spiritual, but obviously it is. But for me, it just feels like just as tangible as anything else. Feels just as ordinary as what I call the non-ordinary for the sake of ease, you know, and how we talk to each other, to me, this stuff just seems just as real and just as useful and just as practical. In fact, the most practical, the most efficient thing we could do is to become more receptive so that we can stop getting in the way and stop having fear-based responses to the truth and to information that's flowing through us or emotions that we're having, especially as sensitive beings, who own businesses, who help others, or who work in business environments, right? Where you're needing to have a lot of capability and that masculine like drive forward action. We need the absolute balance of intuitive, receptive, feminine as well. So what I'm hearing you're saying is a little bit like you didn't value the process for yourself, but also just in general because of how society conditions us to not value this work. And that's totally fair. And I think that's why I didn't put any shame on you, because I kind of get it, because I've been in this world. I wasn't out of that either. It took a long time for me to feel open and really trust in what I was doing as well. I had to prove it to myself with over 3,000 psychic readings before I chose to teach intuition development, because I was like, I don't really believe this. I believe it, but I don't believe it. I believe it, but I don't believe myself or something along those lines. And so this is one of the things I think is beautiful about your choice, because you started with, okay, I'm just going to pay you 20. It did change because you saw the value of the program fairly quickly.
I think I paid you once
20,
yeah, and then I was like, I can't do this, and I still feel ashamed.
No.
So maybe the scholarship was born from shame. Who knows?
A guilt-induced gift to the world, Sonia. Hey, your guilt is someone else's opportunity. But I mean, I don't think you ought to have shame about this. I certainly would not want you to feel that way. I hope you know, because I think it's really beautiful. The transformation of you valued yourself and this process at no insult to me at $20 a month for 1 month. And then you were like, okay, this is worth more. Obviously, I'm going to give a bit more because it feels like that's what's necessary, which I was grateful for as well. And I would have been fine if you stayed at 20 as well. But now, after taking that program the once, and your mind like was exploding with so much joy. I remember you just streaming ideas and thoughts out, because it was like, oh my gosh, a whole world opened up, right? And you're such an expansive being anyway, that to have yourself feel like the spirit was catching up to all that you had seen in an intellectual way, it's like such a joy to watch. And to know that. What's so fascinating is then after that, you decided, okay, I've got to take another round of this, which always blows my mind, because I think, why does anyone want to bother with another round of me? Aren't they sick of me at this point? And you're signing up for a third round.
I was just going to say, it's like that Buckley's medicine. You just keep taking it.
It tastes awful and it works.
You don't taste awful, Kate. It's not
sometimes I'm sure I do. I'm sure
it's a little hard to take sometimes, but it's not you. It's the medicine.
A spoonful of sugar. I did used to have friends who called me Mary Poppins. There's some element of truth to that. I don't know what the other side is, but yeah, I mean, and a lot of our work is like us giggling at the reality of things, and also going really deep onto these things that hold a lot of and store a lot of like that trauma that you were talking about. Spiritual trauma affects a lot of people, which is I think why it can feel really difficult also to say yes to doing this work, even though there's a pull or a draw to say yes in some way. And sometimes these are the most enjoyable transformations for me to watch, because there's a big arc, there's a big story that comes out of that. And so you then decided to fund the scholarship for this past round, this current round 6 that we're in, which was amazing, and allowed someone who is so lovely to take the program, Kimberly, and she is now taking it again. So clearly she is invested in the idea being shared with more people as well, which I think is amazing. And it's just so cool now to see that it doesn't stop. And it's this feeling to me I had early on, way before, and I haven't told you this actually yet, but I had this feeling way before I ever brought Empath Energetics out to the public, was that I really wanted the feeling I never thought that people would take the program a second time, but I always knew that there would be a feeling of someone passing the torch, and that there would be this sense that someone takes this process on for themselves and they say, wow, I really got something from that in whatever way they did. And then that ripple, that torch would, be lit to the next, to the next, to the next. And I'm really glad that now it's like we light the torch and we also stay lighting our own. We grow our own fires while also continuing. And then it touches that many more people, even just by your existing. People don't have to take the program to reap the benefits of this work that you've done.
And that's just it. Like when I see it with my clients, and it's funny because I'm going first. I did this work and I needed to do this work for myself. But the truth is, my clients needed me to do this work so that they could do their work.
Yeah.
Because then I couldn't help them witness themselves from this lens if I couldn't hold myself from that lens, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't sit on that tree branch from that perspective. It was too scary to be up there. And so I had to keep looking from down here, which means they don't get to reach their full potential. And so, and to your point, like I show up at work, one of the participants in the program is one of my colleagues in my corporate role.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that she expresses herself about being in this doing this work, the only way she's come about it is just watching how I show up in my role, in my corporate role. And that's different than my business, because I'm an equal contributor there, and yet somehow, some way that comes through. I don't lead her. Like, she doesn't report to me, so there's no incentive to pay attention to how I'm showing up, but yet she has, and that's rippled effect. I've been able to refer her to other people like yourself that I support that will do this deep work, and so it's become this thing. And so you offering me that opportunity has layered out already, and in fact, you're meeting these people, which was never on your radar.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about myself, like the feedback that my clients give, how their children perceive them and how they feel their presence, like I know that this is incredibly important. And like clients to work with me they start investing right now. None of my group programs are live, and so the only way to work with me is one-on-one. That's $25K a year, and I'm balking at $20. It's not the money, right? It's not that. And also, I'm not floating in money myself. Like, a lot of what I do is invested in credit, and then I replenish that credit and I invest in my business again. And so then what happens? How does that happen? One of the things I channeled last year before I met you was this version of me. It was like me speaking to myself from the future. And I realize now that it's a channel. I didn't know that then. I just thought I was making stuff up. And, you know, I relate to it differently now. But it was this idea that because I know what it's like to not have, and it's not just like money, it's like not have freedom to believe what you believe, not have freedom to experience the world as you experience, but to have that abundance, that abundance would be given me financially, or I would call it in financially and be able to share it out. And before I even met you, or no, while I was in the program, then I started believing this, and then I created my manifesto, which is around, scholarships for the coaches that have helped me and people that are changing the world. And I wrote that in, and one day while I was, thinking about going into second round, and how little I had valued investing in this and how much it had changed everything that I was already doing. Because it wasn't like I was doing nothing, or that I was doing it half-heartedly, or that I wasn't really committed to it. I was already doing it. I needed the whole version of me to be present, and I just wasn't letting it be here. And so when I allowed myself to witness myself and see all of me, the good, the shadow, the light, the quote unquote, the bad, the ugly, and just be with it differently, because I didn't have to protect myself from being evil, from accessing, having this personal power and ability that we all have. If it if it wasn't a threat anymore, then I could be safe to be that my whole self.
And
That's
more
what I
and
want
more and more.
everybody, yeah,
Every
to
round.
experience.
Every round, more and more layers of you, right?
I know. Get used to like open, full out bawling because I've set the standard now.
And so we carry the torch covered in tears.
Yeah, how does
Yeah.
it light fire and cry at the same time? Nobody knows.
It's got to be tears are like the fuel, like that eternal flame in Ottawa outside the Parliament building in Canada. You know, it's just like this flame that's always running. And I was always like, how does it do that? This is how the tears, the tears. That could go to a whole other layer. I'm gonna not touch that
I
one.
feel like there's a collaborative art piece here.
Yes,
Kate.
yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think that really it does round out a lot of your personal journey and the experience in devaluing the potential yourself and this experience, seeing very quickly how it shifted things for you, just getting to know yourself in a really pure way, in a really true and full way, all layers of you being accepted and welcomed and seen. You know, I know being seen was a big part of things as well, and seen for all of the elements of you, including spiritual. And it is a really, you know, they say it's part of our overall well-being, and yet we can often be really shy to encourage and to develop that aspect of us. So I just want to thank you for your bravery and in sharing your story as well, because I know that there is still conditioning that exists.
Oh
I
yeah.
say like I'm not aware of it because I get to live in a really blissful life where we get to talk about things I want to talk about, live in a deep way. But I do go to coffee shops and I know the world is not like that, you know? So I do get that. And so no matter what, anyone getting to do this work, whether it's for free through the scholarship or because hey you really felt the call here and said I just need to do this, and whether that's the scholarship or not, I need to do this work, it is lighting the torch for all these people that need it in the world. And just by us doing our own work, right? I don't actually tell you how to work with people, and I don't tell you to go do specific things with others. It's like just you. It's just why I put myself in the program every round, because the more that I do, the better I get at doing what I do. It's amazing. You know, it's really incredible. I've really gotten to know myself. I was thinking about this the other day. I've gotten to know myself so much better by offering this, that I could never just step out of putting myself into the process at this point. It would just feel so wrong. And this round was the first time I made art, you know, and I was escaping even the depths of what this program had to offer me as well. And so yeah, your reflection just it hits me in a different kind of way at this time, I think, just having been with that and seeing the impact of how many people, over 180 people at this point, have just seen a few of my messages online and really felt like they need this for them as well in whatever way they find it. This might have been one flicker on their torch being lit and being able to carry for others. Is there anything else that you feel is pertinent to share with anyone who's thinking about applying for the scholarship or taking the program? Because the scholarship draw is going to be on Monday. And so there will be decisions for anyone who's not successful, because unfortunately I can't give out 180, even though I'd love to. I actually don't think I'd have the time to do that at all. Although if I had 20 more lives, I'd do 20 more rounds, you know. But
Yeah.
anything else that you feel is necessary for people to hear about this?
I think one of the beautiful elements that I was able to find for myself and within myself is my own spiritual narrative. And by that, I mean, how do I experience the world beyond the tangible? And, you know, there's a lot of ancient wisdom, there's a lot of now knowledge. And I think it was really beautiful to be able to come into this space, not be responsible for anybody but myself.
Yup. Point number
And
one.
yeah, that was beautiful. And B, to be able to have this learning and experience. Oh, my point. I feel like I'm losing my point. So I'm sorry. My brain's flickering right now, but let me just see if I can grab it. We're more complex than we give ourselves credit for, or than we've been allowed to be. And a lot of people are looking for and searching, not lurking, looking for and
Sometimes lurking.
searching, maybe lurking, um, looking for some way to connect spiritually, but nothing connects to them, whether it be religious or ancient practices or things. But like, spirituality is not about some ritual or mantra or thing. It's about nurturing the parts of you that you can't physically hold,
Yeah.
right? And finding your own way, whether that feels like a religious practice or not, or just like a thing I do to keep my head attached.
Mhm.
That's okay. That's what matters. And I think that that's something that the world has lost, hence why we have so much mental illness, is we don't have that understanding of that complexity of ourselves, and we dismiss so many parts of ourselves, whether it be the body over the mind, logic over spirit, um, all of those things. But the truth is, you're going to come find your own way, and that's what matters. Like, this is the core of it, is you're here to find yourself and your way in the world, how it meets you, and how it serves you. So, like, you're not going to you're going to learn how to ask questions, basically, because
You're definitely going to
that
learn how to ask questions in empath
yeah,
energetics. You can't
yeah,
escape asking
yeah,
questions.
because those questions are then key to finding answers within yourself versus externally. I think that's really key.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you said there, because it is really important to me to not have a dogma, a specific way that I think people need to be or feel, and at the same time, sort of lovingly be a bumper if something feels dangerous or unstable to that person. How do we help keep it that you're lining up to your highest and best expression there? And it's interesting, even this week with some of the empath folks, I was helping them bring through things that are their own expression of energy and light work, that I'm like, I wouldn't do that. That's not my thing, but this is your thing.
Yeah,
And that's, I think, what really makes this program unique, because it's not me saying, and Reiki is beautiful, and shamanic ways are beautiful, and there's a huge amount of variety that people can touch into, a whole bunch of different, like a lot of religions actually really are beautiful, and there's a lot of different expressions to how everyone can live through any of these lenses, and yet we all have like our own unique individual way that we're going to do that. And I really like peeling back each person's like layers to be like, hey, what's going on under there? And how is this spirit wanting to be full volume? Because it does look different, but it's all these unique lights that make our whole world brighter, but only in a truthful way for you, right? And I would never want you to feel forced to see something the way I see it.
yeah, and the truth is, it's not about, like, I think that that's where we've gone wrong, right? And I think that's where we dismiss the spiritual element, is that, we've wanted to bring logic and certainty to something that just doesn't have that kind of form.
It's very difficult to bring form to what is formless. And
And limitless.
exactly. And yet these frameworks of helping us kind of get close is like, it's really fun, isn't it? It's sort of our spiritual healing journey is meant to be, how are we attempting to get to an understanding, a feeling, or experience of what divine or spiritual or light, energy is. And all of us have a very different pathway there, a really different, no one else will have your story. No one
No,
else will
no.
have my story or my expression of it or your expression of it. And I think it's so beautiful. And that's why I think sensitive people are here to rule the world, because I feel like the more sensitive folks have their heart open and they feel ready and confident and clear to be able to live out what their soul and spirit is asking them to do, the better every single person is for having met them and for getting to work with them, or simply being cared for by them. And so onwards the revolution of the sensitives.
Yeah, and then when we stop taking responsibility as sensitive people for others, even though we can now bring that support cleanly, right?
Yeah.
Because it we no longer need them to be okay for
Yeah.
us to be okay. It's like, we're really holding a clean space for them. And so it really changes, because just because we are caring doesn't mean it can't get disruptive as well.
Yeah,
And
totally.
so it's nice when we can decouple ourselves from others and come at it really clean, so that they can find their own power and be in their own power. And also, boundaries are a good thing because it helps us own our pieces too, whether they be good, bad, or ugly, and needing some TLC, right?
Absolutely. I do think if I could just sum up the general philosophy for me anyways with empaths, it's know thyself. Know
Yes.
thyself, and how can I help people know thyself?
Right.
And yeah, it's really interesting. I learned something with every single round, and so I'm going to learn double as much because I'm welcoming in double the people this next round, and I can't wait. I feel like my brain's going to pull a Sonia. It's going to be exploding with all this access. More people
I would be like,
coming through.
Kate, you don't need to do anything with all of it.
Yeah, Kate's going to take the winter off to process.
Just rest,
Oh,
Kate. Just rest.
hey, you know what?
Have a bath. That
Thankfully,
one's for Joe. Have a bath. That one's for
honestly,
Joe.
honestly, and actually, no, it's for me too, because there isn't a bathtub where I've been living here, So it's like, why am I moving nomadically? Because I need to use people's bathtubs. Like, honestly,
Too good.
yeah, that is my winter plan. It's bathtubs and spending time with family. So I think it's going to be a really beautiful journey this next round from September to December, and I'm really looking forward to it. The official date, by the way, I felt it out this weekend. This week, it's not even the weekend yet. This week I felt it out, as the official date will be September 8th that we get started. So look forward to that. We will have like 1 week of rest time between this round and next, but you already know the beginning stuff, so maybe
Apparently, I keep signing up for this. Keep signing up other people too.
Me too. I mean, I keep signing up for it. We never know what we're in for, but it's always finding deeper versions and fuller versions of ourselves on the other side. And it just works, doesn't it? And I stopped questioning it a couple rounds ago, and I think it's felt easier and easier since. So thank you for allowing a second person the opportunity to take part in this at no cost to them, giving them the freedom to be able to step into this without the fears and risks that might get associated with that. And also acknowledging that you've recognized the value so much. You're not only just investing in yourself, you're also investing in someone else. So from $20 to 2 people worth of the actual fee of the program is incredible as a transformation also for me to witness. I'm really humbled by it and really grateful to you. And that will never change. I will always be grateful to you and your story as part of the makings of Empath Energetics and showing me what's possible in so many ways, because you are so powerful.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. Thank you.
You went first. So we can
Boy, did I go first. That first torch was a tough one to light, let me tell you. I was sparking for days.
Barely had kindling. The wind was blowing all the time.
Yeah, there was a few relights, I think, in order to even get it to stay. Yeah. I love that. That's a perfect way for us to end. So I'll stop recording here, and thank you so much for spending the time today to share your story as well.
My pleasure.